three. 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
All right, everybody, welcome to a special late night edition of Teaching Crypto. This is AZcrypto, MrFOMO. Please hit that like, please hit that subscribe button as we got some brand new subs. Thank you to everyone, old and new, for joining us. Hit that notification. You never know when we could go live. MrFOMO, we wanted to get on today because bad thing happened in the crypto space. It does happen fairly often. I wanted to discuss it because I think there is this mentality that rug pulls are not that big of a deal. I wanted to come on and talk about how it's not good for the industry. It's not good for us. It's not good for crypto long term. So I want to discuss it with our viewers. And just a heads up, to be frank, we mentioned a token that a lot of our viewers, maybe not a lot, but some of our viewers definitely were interested in. And we had one of our followers, Obi, come in and give his opinion that OFI was likely a rug pull because a lot of the promises they were making were likely not going to be delivered. We talked about this. The fact that it was an anonymous project was a bit alarming. That it did not mean that it was definitely going to be a rug pull, but unfortunately, as we saw today, a lot of people did get hurt. And yes, this is part of crypto, taking risks, and you got to live with the risk. But unfortunately, people were hurt. Promises were made and not kept. And it seems like this was the promise all along. If you take a look, they had another token coming up where they were doing pre-sales for. And unfortunately, MrFOMO, this does leave some bad taste in people's mouth. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why it's not good for industry. What were your initial reactions to what happened overnight, last night, into this morning?
Well, I mean, it's like you said, it's fairly common in the crypto space. Without regulation, you sort of have these things happen from time to time, and it's ugly. I feel like I'm sort of not doing this idea justice. If you were rug pulled on this, I feel bad for you. And I also feel kind of bad because at one point when we were talking about it, I said, if I had loads of money, I'd throw a little bit on it. I would day trade almost anything. But this, as far as being married to a token, we talk about that all the time. You would never want to stick around for the ups and downs of a lot of these projects. But this one in particular raised a lot of red flags. First of all, ordinals are an experimental thing where you are adding script. It's almost like attaching a document to a Satoshi, and then from there you're able to move that Satoshi along with those scripts. But this was created in, as far as I know, late February, early March of this year. And so for OFI to be able to spin up their company and march through that timeline in the amount of time that they said they did, that was very questionable. And on top of that, a lot of the things that they are saying that these ordinals do just on their own, not even OFI, but just on their own, those are handled by a lot of the things that are already happening on the Lightning Network. There's so many things that are happening with Bitcoin, and there's so many people working on it that I'm not sure that you need these experimental ordinals, anyway in the space. But for them to attach their name to this experimental thing and then also say that we've created this huge company within a month's time, that was a huge red flag, I think. And that's something that people should really look out for, because those obvious red flags can keep you from, dumping your money into a bad project.
Yeah. Hey, listen, here's the issue. Likely the creators of OFI have done this before, and likely they're going to do it again. And, yes, hopefully people took profits when they could or didn't put a lot in. But I'm going to tell you why it's bad for the space here. There's a lot of negativity. If you leave the crypto space and you go to the person that is not involved in crypto, you hear a lot of stories of people getting defrauded. And if this indeed, and it seems like they did, this was the plan all along, to gather up as much funds as they could and eventually pull the plug. That is fraud. I don't care if it's crypto. I don't care if it's stocks. I don't care if someone comes and promises to fix your roof. Fraud is fraud, and it's not good for the space. It's not.
Absolutely not.
Into, my point here, and I want to make this clear. We got into crypto to better our lives, better our families' lives, believe in the tech. We did not get into crypto to figure out what of 1,000 projects that are being launched are rug pulls and not. And over the weekend, hey, everyone's free to do what they want. I had a couple followers that were pushing a good Gary Gensler meme token. And it was funny, and hell, at 100 a day. But here's the problem. It's eventually going to crash and already started crashing. And what you have is a lot of people are left holding the bag that come in. So one big mistake, kind of the premise of the show make is be careful when your quote unquote friends or people you follow are tweeting and retweeting about a token that has zero utility, that has gone up. You don't want to chase those pumps. We talked about this way before we had a live audience. So a lot of people, unfortunately, have not seen those old shows, but chasing pumps is very dangerous, specifically with tokens that don't have utility and are anonymous projects. Normally, but eventually someone's going to be caught holding the bag. We don't want that to be you. A lot of people watching the show have already been hurt hard enough. And so now, yes, maybe it was only $100, maybe it was only $200. But listen, you put that $200 in Avalanche, there's a great chance in a year and a half it's going to be 2K. What would you rather have? Yes, everyone wants to 100x, but if you're constantly chasing that 100x, that needle in a haystack, you're likely going to lose way more than you're going to win. Maybe you will get that 100x. I mean, Gary Gensler token 100x in a day, but eventually it was going to come crashing, guys, because there's no utility. It's someone trying to make a quick buck. And I just want to say, long term, for the health of the industry, good Gary Gensler, OFI, that is not what's going to drive crypto to mass adoption. It's the exact opposite. It's good people that are working on good projects to succeed. Does that mean everyone that is working on a project is going to succeed? No, there are going to be failed projects all over. But I think we need to get these people out of the industry that are constantly pulling these rug pulls that are getting away with it. So just a heads up, the next time you see someone promoting a token and it's already pumped, there's a decent likelihood, unfortunately, that they're looking for people to jump in to cash out.
And I think when you see people starting to talk about it, you're probably already too late, right? When you see a bunch of people on Twitter or a bunch of people talking about a coin, that means it's time for you to keep an eye on it, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's time to dump any money in it. You brought up a good point. You don't want to get dumped on. You have to look at the charts, and you have to look at the distribution on some of these coins. If this thing is already peaked, if this thing has already gone on a parabolic run, the chances of you getting another parabolic run out of this are probably slim to none. And so once you've seen it make that run and you're hearing people talk about it, you probably just ought to keep an eye on it to see if it dips back down, consolidates, does some of the things that these coins naturally do in the market when they are good projects. But that isn't to say that you can't make money on these projects, right?
You can.
If you find something like this before it hits, you might be able to make money. I mean,
but you got to be aggressive and take profits.
What was the one that you picked up a while back that was like a copy of a meme coin or something like that?
Yeah, on the Binance chain, there was a lot of copycats. All these different moon blast tokens and all that stuff, and it did amazing.
You capitalized on that moment where the meme coins were being successful.
The issue is
people were jumping in on these, and you found one that.
But unfortunately, within days, the 10x had completely disappeared. So right. I kind of been through this before, and I was hoping that was not the case because we had viewers that were excited about this token. And we were hoping for you guys that it was going to be a winner, and unfortunately, it just has not proven to be the case. So I think the lesson here is if someone, it does not every anonymous token is going to be a rug pull, but if something is anonymous, let's talk about why, right?
Right.
Anonymous because in Asia we're not allowed to be doing this type of work. That was really, and then
That's
the
fairly
webs.
questionable.
Another thing I've noticed about a lot of these rug pulls, the websites don't look like they have a lot of development.
That's
So
another great point.
yeah. So I wanted to share something because coming off a disappointment, let's look at something that might be of interest to people. I want to talk about a crypto project that's been around for about 3 years called Geojam. And what kind of grabs my attention about this, Mr. FOMO, is the market cap is a little over 1 million, and that should grab your attention. It's listed on Binance US. That should grab your attention. Now, before we get too excited, let's look at an objective look at what is this? Could it be 100x? I'm not saying it is. Could it be 100x, or could it be something that you, especially if you're a Voyager customer and you're about to see your funds on Binance US? Whether you pull or stay or leave, there might be some tokens that you might not be aware of that are there that might interest you. So I wanted to go ahead and I wanted to kind of look at something here. Now, this token was launched in 2020. It's a social engagement platform, and they've they've had some. Not saying these people are working for them, but they've had some partnership with Mariah Carey, Machine Gun Kelly, and Nigel Houston. Not everyone's heard of those people, but I know everyone's heard of Mariah Carey. If you are from the Midwest, you probably know who Machine Gun Kelly is. Now, it is an app that you can download, right? And it's interesting, Mr. FOMO, because we've talked about before Audius having, some things. And this token to me is just really, really interesting. Right. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, is this too good to be true? I'm looking at it and it's got a decent website. And then I go and you can, by the way, kind of look at the white paper here, but kind of like it's creating a cycle between advertisers, creators, and fans, and it's trying to get people more in tune, and it's designed to give you the ability to interact more with artists that are up and coming. So it's got an interesting, it's got an
Well,
interesting.
it also sounds like it has sort of like this anti-fraud, idea behind it that, there's a big problem with people spoofing viewership and creating fame out of nothing by creating bots and fake accounts and stuff online. And so what a lot of these companies are doing are creating these blockchains that will make sure that people are actually viewing your videos. Right. So that's an actual person that's actually there, that's actually participating in the network. And so you'll buy those tokens. And, I guess if you're a creator, you'll use the tokens. But if you are, a fan or whatever, you use those tokens to interact and be part of something, that you normally wouldn't be able to be a part of.
Yeah. So I wanted to show the chart here, and you'll see really here the highest we've ever been is 2.5 2.5 cents. Not super high, right? So it hasn't done amazing, but sometimes that means there's more opportunity. Market cap legitimate is $1.2 million. Now the max supply is 8 billion, a little high for me. But Mr. FOMO, as we know, if you have a low market cap, and I'm not going to go through the entire website, but there are real people involved. If you go through and look, you do your research, there are some people and there's some names and there's some pictures. So this
You
is
mean what they're doing isn't illegal in their country, so they don't have to hide themselves?
no, this is a real company. And so it does interest me because here's why, Mr. FOMO, you're listed on Binance US. Now, here's what I think about Binance US. I think Binance US, I think some people on Voyager are going to stay. And I think because of what happened with Celsius and Voyager, obviously, and FTX, there's a spot for Binance US to have a bigger role in the next upcoming bull run. And so if you're listed on Binance US and you're low market and you have a very low market cap and you have any type of utility, which this has some, I think it's far from a sure thing for sure. Do your research. I think there's an opportunity here.
Well,
Is
I
it
think
going to go?
you touched on something
Yeah.
important there. You don't want to be married to coins. You also don't want to be married to exchanges, right? Get yourself a
No,
cold
absolutely
wallet
not. Absolutely
and
not.
then bounce
But,
from exchange to
but
exchange,
it's good to
right?
be
Wherever
aware of
you
what
can
is
get
and what's.
something like this, get it.
It's good to be aware of what is and what's not an exchange. Part of the problem with StormX was only being available on Voyager, right? No, it wasn't available. Not everyone is
You're always
comfortable.
dogging my boys.
Not everyone is comfortable getting on, getting on a swap. Not yet,
Right.
especially the new people that are coming in. So I want you to think about the next bull run. I want you to think about the millions of people that are just entering crypto that want something easy to use. They might get on Binance US to start, right? And they might see this token. And and I think most of our viewers know this, with a low market cap, it doesn't take much to fuel some movement. So, a 2x here is just 2.5. Thank you very much, Zach. A 2.5 million market cap is not far. I mean, that's not gonna take much movement, right? And the daily volume doesn't have to be far. Now we're still in a bear market, but in a bull run, a lot of people are going to be looking at these projects, right? Because what I think is going to happen, why I really wanted to mention this token, I think Audius is going to do very well the next 18 months. And I think a token like this and a project like this can kind of piggyback, right? There might be a music week in crypto, kind of like there's a meme week, kind of like there's an AI week where things just kind of rise. There's a layer 3, layer 2, whatever it is. There might be a musical genre week. And this thing, to me, being already listed on a major exchange, you could 2x fairly quickly. Now, again, I want to warn people, we are in a bear market. So I would not expect to get a 2x in the next 48 hours. But I just wanted, to mention this token, just something to think about,
If
because
enough people come in on that market cap, it could balloon pretty fast. It
I
doesn't take
could
a
see
lot of
this.
it doesn't take a lot of investors to
Yeah, I
really.
mean, I could see this going from 1.2 to 5,
And
pretty early.
on my live stream the other day, I talked about, if you can invest in sex, drugs, music, or video games, these are the things that people are really getting addicted to, right? You can't invest in drugs, but we talked about a coin that had to do with with sex the other day, and now we've got these that are doing with popularity and music and celebrities, and people are crazy over their celebrities. And so if you get the right people in there, like imagine if Geojam worked with somebody like Taylor Swift, and you could have a fan experience with Taylor Swift when she shows up in your city. That would be a game changer. You would change the market cap from that and from
Yeah, so that's
millions
what I'm
to
saying
tens of
is
billions
is
overnight.
it's kind of definitely not a sure thing, but if these people can pull this off, the market cap's just going to go crazy. So what I would say is, do your research and take a look at it, because a year from now we might look back at the show and it'd be like, oh, it was 1.2 million. Now it's over 10. Well, interesting. Just saying, look out, because we're all about recovery. Really quickly on Voyager, we do have a Wednesday hearing coming up. And just so everyone doesn't get confused, not everything on Binance US is going to be available for all the tokens that are available on Voyager. So they're looking for some clarity in terms of how they can cash people out where the token is not available. Hopefully this goes smoothly on Wednesday and we can get some dates. I was hoping for some dates very early this week. It doesn't look like it's not going to happen. It looks like the earliest we're going to get dates is late this week. I would say Thursday, Friday. And I'm still hoping for May, realistically, as some time where we can get that initial 50% back. I've heard from several people 2 to 3 weeks on the FTX Almeida. So again, my timeline is initially 50% in May, hopefully anywhere between around 20, maybe 15 to 25% being realistic, hopefully 20 to 20, but worst case, 15 to 25% extra after that. And then finally some closure. And then there will be a wind down, but that could take months and months. Let's just focus on what's going to happen the next couple months. And we really appreciate you guys tuning in late at night. And if you guys could hit that subscribe button as we push towards 500, we would greatly, greatly appreciate it.
I wanted to come back to this comment that popped up earlier from Daniel. He said, average Joes like us stick with BTC, ETH, ADA, and SOL with small weekly buys would be good for the next bull run and go further into risk curve with projects like Near, Jasmy, AMP, etc. I like this kind of a plan. And this, to me, this is the way you want to be approaching the upcoming bull run. You want to have a plan. You want to know what your long-term holds are. You want to know what your short-term, day trades or swing trades are. You want to know what you're taking risks on. And, like we always say, really, 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 aggressively take profits. People who take profits don't go broke, right? But look at this plan here. Look at what you have laid out, Daniel. This is incredible. So nobody should go into the next bull run without a plan that looks similar to this and then gets more extensive as you go further into your research. But this is something that I like to see. I like to see people saying, I'm going to DCA in on these projects. I'm going to take, going to put smaller risk on these projects. That is a good way to go about it. Make sure you're taking profits, but you are on the right track with that kind of a plan.
Yeah. The only thing missing from that plan for me is Avalanche and Multiverse X.
Well, yeah, and I think we should talk about that too, because that's part of our strategy here on the show is we're always looking for the things that have been down. Something like Algorand, Multiverse X. What else was I looking at? Those are down like 10 or 11%. Algorand, obviously.
A blue chipper that gets no publicity right now anywhere in crypto on YouTube. Polkadot. That'll make a comeback.
Polkadot. Polygon is also down below $1, down 10% over the last, I think, 7 days. So there are some out there that are available.
And that's the thing. People try to sometimes make fun of people for investing in the blue chips, but the blue chips have been established. It doesn't mean they're going to be highly successful, but at least you're not going to run into an OFI over the next 7 to 10 days.
And it's going to provide some strength and stability in your portfolio to allow you to go and take risks on some of those other projects with some of your, with a smaller portion of your portfolio. But, when you have that stability and you have that, the backing of all those investors that are going to hold you at those, support levels, you can go and take a risk on something like Geojam, knowing that your portfolio is not going to take a deep dive.
Realistically,
if that goes down.
You're not looking for Geojam to 100x. It would be great, but once you get that 2x, guys, you can't. No, everyone wants to sell at the top, but it's very, very hard to pull off. Don't feel bad when you sell and the token keeps rising, because eventually it will come down, and no one times it perfectly. It's just a reality. And so when you don't take profits, you don't make money. And
there are several different ways that you could approach profit taking, right? You could pull everything right off the table, right? That's a way to take profits. Let's get rid of this whole thing. You could leave your initial investment like we talked about before. That way, or you could pull your initial investment. That way you're only playing with house money on that, or even leave a smaller bag in there, call it your moon bag. If I've 2x'd on this and I pulled out a bunch of money, but this turns around in 100x's, I'm going to leave this much in there so that I make X amount of dollars at the end of that if it moons. And if it turns into a rug, well, I'm not, too upset, because that's house money, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so we got a fun show coming up. We'll obviously have an update on Wednesday's Voyager Hearing, but the NFL draft is almost here on Thursday, and we're going to do a mini draft. This is a draft. Drafts are kind of a thing on the show.
I got to start preparing for that.
Yeah, we'll discuss, but we're going to do a draft, some high, high blue chips, but also some kind of like we introduced with Geojam, so our viewers can do some research and decide if it is for them. So, guys, if you have not done so, please hit that subscribe button as we push forward, hopefully 500 as soon as we can. And then we're going to try to push for 1,000 and really make the show as big as possible. For Mr. FOMO, this is AZcrypto. Thank you so much for joining us in this late evening. Have a great night. We will see you later this week.
See you.